Oh my goodness, the worlds are colliding again, and it couldn't happen at a better time because we're talking about the biggest YouTube channel that's devoted solely to the Denver Broncos, and he's sitting right here. Moose, how are you living, big dog?
Hey, man, I am taking it one day at a time. I'm happy for Broncos fans and Broncos, media members that we finally get to get our revenge against the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure you were just like me, where you kind of sat down and watched a bunch of wild card football recently, and then all of a sudden you watch that Patriots-Chargers game last night, clock hits 0-0, and you're like, let's get our revenge back. It's Denver Broncos versus Buffalo Bills, part 2.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. So yeah, I was the exact same way. Watched every game over Wildcard Weekend. What did you see during Wildcard Weekend that made you feel more confident about this team going into the playoffs?
Well, so I'm going to start with what I saw from the Bills and the Jaguars game. Talk about two high-powered offenses with, Liam Cohen leading the charge, obviously with Jacksonville. They were the one have that the Broncos do is that stout pass defense. Sure, Jacksonville was great against the run, but they lacked a lot of that star potential in that defensive secondary. I mean, they lost a couple of players earlier this season, like Jordan Lewis, but you look at what the Broncos have compared to what the Jaguars have, and they've just got talent all across the board in the secondary. Now, notably, we've lost Brandon Jones. Hopefully we can end up getting him back for the later run in this playoff matchup, but Josh Allen had a much easier time picking apart the Jaguars secondary than he would against the Denver Broncos. And I also know that the Buffalo Bills are beat to hell right now. So watching that game specifically, I said, okay, the Bills do one thing really, really well. They trust Josh Allen to be Superman, and the Broncos can be that kryptonite. They just attack relentlessly on the defensive side of the ball. I think they can absolutely make waves and trouble for Josh Allen and that Bills offense.
Yeah, no, I felt the exact same way. And just watching the Jacksonville home field advantage that, I was watching with my son. He's like, Dad, why is there a swimming pool in the Jacksonville stadium? I'm like, because they don't actually like football like we do in Denver. And the atmosphere at Mile High is just going to be night and day difference, the altitude. And then the other big thing that gave me confidence was like every single game until that Patriots game came down to one score. And who's the best team at winning by one score in the NFL this year? It's the Denver Broncos by a country mile. And so that made me like wildly hyped. What do you think is the biggest difference between the last time we played the Bills? What do you think makes the difference?
Well, let's start from top to bottom here. Obviously, Bo Nix coming in his second year. Now, Bo Nix is a rookie. It's his first playoff game ever going up against Josh Allen. I mean, let's be honest. It's not a fair fight. Now, Bo has a little bit more playing experience. There's a little bit more talent on the defensive side of the ball. There's another year with this offensive line continuity. And, of course, the elephant in the room, the run offense is far better and more efficient than it was last year. I know Javonte Williams is having a great year in Dallas, but let's be totally for real about it. With J.K. Dobbins for the first half of the season and R.J. Harvey coming on and scoring as frequently as he does, and now Jaleel McLaughlin, who seems to be kind of like that secret sauce for the Denver Broncos rushing attack, it's just a far more functioning offense, in my opinion, when everything is clicking. And I think looking at what Denver had last year, which was a season where they defied expectations. Everybody last year predicted Denver to be a 6 or a 7 win team. They go 10-7. They defied the expectations. Now the expectation is, okay, we went 10-7 last year. 2025 season, let's try to compete for the division. They far exceeded that. So the confidence now that the Broncos have in their own game is far beyond anything that we expected. I think they know they're the better team. They're the more healthy team, and they have the confidence of it and the swag of a team that knows we're the number one seed for a reason. So the mentality surrounding this team, and Sean Payton has made no friends along the way. He knows that they're the best team in the NFL, and he touts it, which is great for a fan. It's great for a Broncos, kind of allegiant. And honestly, it just makes for that much more of a more aggressive style of a playoff-like atmosphere.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, and Sean knows how good this team is and has been telling us it since July. I agree with every single point you made about what's different from this time last year,
Mhm.
but I'll raise you. Oh, yeah. How about Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Evan Ingram? How about we got 6 All-Pros this year and what we didn't last year? How about Bo Nix played that game last year in Buffalo with a broken back? He has 2 vertebrae like surgically repaired in the offseason. And you're talking playing at altitude. So I'm feeling amazing. What would scare you the most about this matchup? Like, what's your nightmare scenario?
Well, it's number 17. And, you know, we've seen enough of Josh Allen throughout his tenure now with the Buffalo Bills and in the NFL, where on any given Sunday, he looks like the most talented quarterback we've ever seen. I mean, he will go down as one of the most freakish athletes to ever play the position. But the one thing that I will say gives me a little bit more hope than what would have last year is the fact that this Bills offense lacks a big time talent gap at the wide receiver position. Sure, James Cook has definitely come into his own. The running game is much better. We all know what Josh Allen can do with his legs. But the one thing I noticed watching that game against the Jaguars yesterday was I wanted to see how they attacked the Jaguars through the air, because in order to beat the Broncos, specifically at home, they're going to have to throw the ball. They're not going to be able to nickel and dime their way down the field. And that's kind of what they did against the Jaguars. They would take these little tunnel screens or these bubble screens, and it kind of looked like a Sean Payton vanilla game plan for the Buffalo Bills. And I think that's by design, because they know that if their leading wide receiver is Khalil Shakir, they've got a bit of a problem. They can't compete with the big time playmaking ability that the Broncos can have, especially in the play action. I mean, that Broncos up front, offensive line is going to dominate that Bills defensive front. So I think you're going to see a lot of time for Bo Nix to roll out in the pocket, stretch the ball down the field, especially on his bootlegs. But what I saw from Josh Allen in this Bills offense was a lot of time of possession control, almost 8 more minutes full of time of possession control against the Jaguars yesterday. So you're going to try to see them do the exact same thing. Both teams are going to try to dominate the time of possession, but you're going to see a lot of nickel and diming, a lot of screen calls called from Joe Brady's offense. And I think the Broncos have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, that's a really good call. And I think they have to, Sean writes run the ball on the top of like every play sheet to remind himself. And I think he needs to have that tattooed on his arm, because you look at, ETN's, he had 10 carries for 70 yards almost. And
Ben, it goes,
didn't throw it enough or run it enough,
It goes beyond that, Ben. The Jaguars ran the ball 23 times for 154 yards. Quick math, 6.7 yards per carry. This Bills defensive run-stopping game is almost non-existent. So I believe the Denver Broncos have to do 2 things. One, you got to give Jaleel McLaughlin 12 to 15 carries in this game. And the reason I say that is because as good as RJ Harvey is in space with the ball in his hand, he's not quite as strong or as confident yet as a runner in between the tackles. We've seen that in the last couple of weeks. Jaleel maybe isn't the strongest, back. He's not as strong as J.K. Dobbins, but he's a more experienced halfback. He's a more experienced runner. So I believe giving him the ball 12 to 15 times in this game and just allow him to create his space and create his damage between the tackles is going to be kind of needed. And number 2, you're going to have to really focus hard on, like, when you are running the football really, really well, do not get caught up in the pattern that we've seen a couple of times from the Broncos this year. I've noticed Sean Payton from time to time will like to go into these drives where he'll have 3 straight pass plays or 3 straight run plays. You cannot get predictable, even if you are doing one thing really, really well. You got to be able to mix it up a little bit, which again, I think he will, because Payton's been doing this long enough. He's one of the best second half adjustment play callers I've ever seen. But one of the things that Payton notably needs to be is aggressive in this play calling, aggressive in your running attack, aggressive in your passing attack, and you should be able to move the ball with ease against the Bills.
Yeah. Depending on when we drop this episode, it could be totally a moot point, but does any part of you like go to bed at night dreaming that we see the tweet in the morning that J.K. Dobbins is going to be back, or do you think that's one more week away?
I think it's one more week away. Everything that I'm reading and everything that I'm kind of seeing around the Broncos media members indicates to me that if he is available for this game, he would not be anywhere near effective enough to actually make a difference. But when Sean Payton came out and said he's close, that to me indicated, okay, we get past the Bills, we get to the AFC Championship game, we activate him. That's what I'm looking forward to, because the more likely option here with the Patriots beating the Chargers is that if Houston wins tonight, you've got Patriots versus Texans.
Yeah.
And then to me, that is a high-powered offense with Drake May, or at least we think so. Last night didn't prove to be any magical offensive explosion, or a defense that rivals what the Denver Broncos were able to accomplish this year. So take your pick. You either get vaunted offense or stout defense. And I don't know which one I'd rather play at this point personally, because of the disdain I have for the Patriots fans.
Yeah.
I'd probably want to play the Patriots a little bit more, but the Texans are definitely one of those teams right now that I don't think anybody wants to play. So I would love to see the activation from J.K. Dobbins. I think we have enough pieces right now and enough to get by the Bills to activate him for that next game. And great news too is that you could activate him at the exact same time that Luke Wattenberg is set to come off of IR, which would be outstanding, because then you'd have your starting center back and J.K. Dobbins back, and then we're flying into that AFC Championship game.
Oh, yeah, the health of this year has just been. I get why you can't give Sean Coach of the Year, but what he has done now 3 years in a row of keeping this team healthy to this point, when you look at any other injury report around the league now, and it's bigger than a Harry Potter book, and we're just consistently like, we could have all of our starters for the Super Bowl, depending on what's up with Brandon Jones, and that's like almost unheard of. So major props to him.
Yeah, well, no, I was just going to say that is a testament to not only Sean Payton, but the staff around him, the strength and conditioning staff. The one thing you notice is that when you have the right people around you that understand nutrition, they understand healing, they understand the body, it no longer just becomes you're a football player. Now you are, this is kind of a weird comparison, but almost like an Olympic athlete. You have to be training year round to make sure that your body is as healthy as it can be for when you need to perform. So it is no longer just a August or July through February thing. It's 12 months of the year. And I think Sean Payton has put the people around him at that staff that understand what it takes to be champions.
Yeah, 1,000%. And having, it's probably something he's always wanted to do, but now he has the Walton Penner ownership group money to be able to that
Walmart money.
Absolutely. I mean, we sniped a tech guy from the Golden State Warriors, and nobody leaves the NBA for an NFL franchise. And he's one of the guys who does advanced analytics and sleep tracking and all this stuff. And it all is under Sean's leadership, but he surrounds himself with the absolute best people. And you see that time and time again. Who's a breakout player you think we need to see have a big game for the Broncos to be a game away from the Super Bowl?
Well, so I will extend the exact same question to you after I answer this question. But to me, offensively speaking, I think this is the opportunity for Pat Bryant to show why he can be the number 2 alongside Courtland Sutton. We have talked ad nauseum on our channel, and I'm sure that you have mentioned it as well. Sean Payton considers this kid to be Michael Thomas 2.0. Now, he's not quite there yet. There's still a lot of development that needs to be done in his game. But what you saw the back half of the season after Lil Jordan Humphrey gets signed is that Pat Bryant, and I knew immediately when we signed Lil Jordan back, I was like, oh, this is an indicator that they want Pat Bryant as involved in this passing game as possible. What he's able to do in the intermediate with his breaks off the line of scrimmage and his surefire hands and his ability to just kind of just dominate between that 5 and 10 yards. That is where Michael Thomas made his bread and butter. And I would not be surprised at all, Ben, and I truly mean this, that if next year Pat Bryant wasn't in the conversation between 70 to 90 receptions based off of the style of offense and the type of player that Sean Payton wants Pat Bryant to be, there's a reason that we took this kid in the 3rd round. There is so much untapped potential from when he got drafted out of the University of Illinois, which notably was a run-first offense in the Big Ten. So I think Pat Bryant has that capability, especially against the Bills, to be one of those 8 receptions, 95 yards, a touchdown or 2. I'm going to look for Pat Bryant on the field all day. 13 is my number this weekend, but I'll turn it over to you. Who do you think that player is?
I can't, Pat's a great pick there for a guy who needs to break out. Just watching how the Bills cover, it's a lot of zone, and I just feel like it's going to be him. And I think Evan Ingram would be another name to watch that I've just been kind of waiting for him to show out like he did in the preseason. I think his back injury that he suffered right before that Colts game was way bigger than the team let on, because Sean constantly keeps stuff close to his chest. And if you watch how open a couple of those tight ends were for the Jags, I think we'll have a very similar type thing where we're going to be able to feast on the tight end position, and knowing that, Sean loved Evan. And I think that could be somebody nobody is really expecting to go for big yardage that could really carve up their zone. Especially, we just heard Jordan Poyer there.
Yes.
All-pro safety out. Like, I just think a smart tight end like Evan Ingram could really shine in this game. So that's what I'll be watching.
Well, and I was just going to mention, I'm glad you brought it up. Good for you for doing the homework, because Jordan Poyer, one of the most important and integral parts right now to this Bills defense, is now not going to be playing against the Broncos. So you're going to be seeing a Bills defense that is just absolutely rolling out the second, third stringers. I mean, they are rumbling, stumbling, bumbling into Mile High. Can you imagine, especially with Josh Allen being at about 75%, going into that altitude with that crowd, knowing how good the Broncos are at home? I mean, they are just facing an uphill battle, or in this case, a mountain of a battle, no pun intended here. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'll ask you the final question here, Ben, because this might be the last time we get to talk before the game actually starts. Bo Nix, redemption for last year. Obviously, not the best game, but not the worst game. Obviously, you mentioned the injury that he was dealing with. Do you think Bo Nix has this game to show everybody that I can compete with the likes of the Josh Allens? And if so, what does the game have to look like? Maybe not necessarily from a statistical perspective, but what do we need to see from Bo Nix? Because you're a huge Bo believer, and I love Bo as well, but you're really on the Bo hype train. What does Bo need to do besides win the game to really stamp his seal of approval? Like, this is my team, this is my league, I'm here to stay.
Yeah. Oh man, I think Bo Nix could win this game throwing the ball 50 times. Like, there's no doubt in my mind about it. But I hope Bo doesn't feel that way. I hope he does not go into this game feeling like I have to outduel Josh Allen. I think his entire mantra needs to be like, hey, let's run the ball. And then those deep play actions are going to be open all day. And so I think it's just honing in those deep shots off of play action. Because I think, like you said, Jaleel and RJ are going to feast in the outside run, and that Sean needs to do creative play calling and get Bo in those boot play actions. And I think we saw a ton of success from quarterbacks who ran the ball, seeing Lawrence run the ball well, seeing obviously Caleb and run the ball super well. And then in that game last night, seeing Drake May run the ball well. So use the legs when it's not there, and don't put that pressure on your shoulders of like, hey, I got to outduel a former league MVP, because we don't need you to do that this week. So not to not answer your question, but I think I would be way more happy if he throws the ball 25 times than I would if we have to throw the ball 50 times. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think, like you said, I don't think this is a Bo Nix game where he needs to be throwing the ball more than, I would say I'd cap it at about 32. Yeah. And I'll tell you why, because Bo is accurate enough in the 0 to 15 yards throwing where he doesn't have to take the 25 to 30 yard shot downfield. Now, I know there's times you can see it in his eyes. He really wants it. He'll look for it. He won't find it. And then he might reluctantly take the check down. I think this is one of those games where Sean is calling Bo into his office and saying, look, if you go 23 of 30 for 225, a touchdown or 2, and no picks, keep that passer rating right around 100, we're going to win this game easily because of our defense, because of what we know our run game is capable of. I just need you to just hold back a little bit. And speaking of holding back, there's a large amount of the fans that were on Broncos Breakdown the other day that were telling me how concerned they were about the Broncos offense. And I was like, man, you guys are starting to sound like Moose a little bit. But I do want to give you at least one cool tidbit of information that I found right before I started recording with you here tonight. Last year's playoff game against the Buffalo Bills, Bo Nix had a 23.5 drop percentage, meaning his wide receivers dropped the ball.
1/4 of the time he threw the ball, it was dropped.
It was unreal. But get this, 8.7 big time throw percentage, which was the third best on Wild Card Weekend. Sean Payton allowed Bo as a rookie to unleash the playbook and just let it rip downfield. I absolutely believe that with another year in the system, with more Bo Nix confidence and a better understanding of what Sean Payton wants from him, you could very easily see Bo Nix start to flex those muscles a little bit, especially you get a couple of plays early on, a couple of swing passes, couple of dump downs, get the momentum flowing, go 5 for 5, 6 for 6, and then let it rip. And I think you could absolutely see that as well. So I could see the Broncos kind of carrying this into this game, winning it 20-16, 20-17, but I could also very well see the Broncos putting up 34 in this game. There's just no telling what this final score could look like. I don't think you're going to see a 10-7 game or a 13-10 game. I do think you're going to see a little bit higher scoring because I think the Broncos want to show people, hey, we're here. Our offense, it's not just our defense. Our offense is also Super Bowl caliber.
Yeah, we're not underdogs. We are the overdogs, baby. Give me Broncos 34, Bills 20, and the NFL actually Bo leaves, baby.
I love it. Now, and I'll end it on this. My final score prediction. I'll give Broncos 26. I'll give Bills 20 with a last-minute touchdown scored by Josh Allen, and the Broncos end up controlling the game at the very end there.
And that happens. We do one more video and we're Super Bowl bound, baby. Let's go.
Oh, and I will see you out there. You know, we'll be out there having 100%. Some fun.
100%, man. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Mile high salute.
Bo leave.